Hey everybody, welcome back to a brand new review. And this time we are doing the DMZ, not the Department of Motor Vehicles that you're probably thinking of. DMZ, of course, it's the this is the 4 episode limited series that's going to be on HBOMax. This premiered at South by Southwest, the film festival. A lot of people were excited about this, and we're here to tell you if it was worth your time, if is this worth you getting through 4 hours of television. But this is also based on the 72 issue comic series by Vertigo / DC Comics by Brian Wood and Riccardo Pacelli. Hope I didn't butcher that. But 72 issues of comics of material here, 4 episodes of a television series on HBOMax. So cast of the show, right? Rosario Dawson, she plays Alma. Benjamin Bratt, you got your boy Freddy Miyares. I hope I said that right. He plays Skell. Hoon Lee, who is Wilson. He's been in everything. And we have newcomer, new kid, Jordan Preston Carter, who plays Odie. So pretty much like the general premise of this is the island of Manhattan is determined as a demilitarized zone and is separated between the other parts of New York. So it's its own country. Before we even get into that, what did you think overall about the 4 episodes that were presented on HBO Max?
Hey, everybody, it's Sherelle Dominique.
It's Sherelle.
And you know what? So of course, like the first episode drew me in because they had like a lot of songs from the Twilight soundtrack. So that drew me in the first episode, and then I was like, okay. But I mean, honestly, overall, it was okay. I just feel like, I mean, if we're going to do spoilers, it was just like, you have this woman who comes into this country of sorts and is not familiar with anything, and she kind of just like disrupts absolutely everything. So for me, it's just kind of like, you just inserted yourself into everything, just like on the basis of you looking for your son, and just kind of like disrupted the movement of everybody.
Right.
So, and then of course she got beat up a couple of times. So I was just like, if you're gonna do this, you gotta know how to fight. Like,
she's Latino too, man, getting the ass whipped like that. Come on, man.
Yeah. I mean, but other than that, I like the relationships between some of the characters, and overall just like, seeing how all in these 4 episodes, how it was all gonna come together. So
right. As Sherelle just said, we're gonna give you like spoilers here. We ain't about to go through this episode by episode, piece by piece, but we might see some stuff that if you plan on watching this, you might be like, "What? I can't believe." So look, Alma, Rosario Dawson, she enters this country, like she said, after losing her son 8 years ago. Now all of a sudden you got the resources to look for this boy. He's been in the DMZ for 8 years. You're looking for him, and in the show we find out that he's still around, he's still alive, and he's created a new character, a new name for himself under the name Skull, which is like his artist name. And his father and his baby mother, his girlfriend picks him up and raises him while Alma is doing whatever she was doing. I think the problem with this show as a whole is that it suffers from it being a limited series. This if you haven't read the comics, this is clearly like a world with so many different characters, and they fast track through this so quickly. You don't get to learn anything about anybody really, or really care. You know what I mean? So it's just, I'm gonna say it. I mean, it really wasn't that great. I mean, despite having Rosario Dawson and Benjamin Bratt, it wasn't that good for me. I wasn't feeling it. How about you?
Yeah. It was parts of it that I liked, but like the overall, like. And I think it really hit me when we got into like episode 3 and 4, where it was just kind of like what? And I think you're right. When it's like 4 episodes and they're an hour long, it's kind of like you don't really have any of like the background of like what was she doing for these
Right.
8 years. All we know is that she was a doctor, or but we don't know anything other than that. Like we don't know her journey, we don't know her struggles. All we know is like she just comes into DMZ and she's just like, I'm looking for my son, and she has a few connections from randomly running into people, And it's just like the way that it, like you said, it was just like kind of like thrown together because it was like these 4 episodes, but it was like I needed more from this whole like it's my son and I'm trying to find my son. It's like it's a little bit more for me. I needed a little bit more for me from from the story than just that, because it was just like now you're trying to run for mayor and you're trying to It's like so many things, and now and like you found your son and then you ship them off and tell them to leave. So it's just like it kind of was just like really thrown together. And I'm not familiar with like the comics of it, so for me it was just like, oh, this is DC, so let me check this out. But it wasn't a typical storyline that you would think of like DC for someone who doesn't read comics or doesn't know the background of that. It wasn't your typical DC or which you're familiar with. If you're just like a movie or a show watcher, this is a little bit different. So for me, I didn't really know what I was going into, this. So it was just like, oh, this is what's happening. Okay. Yeah. I mean,
and like you said, you didn't read the comics, but for these type of shows, it's not your job to have to read. It's not our job to have to read the comics. We're supposed to be able to pick up what's going on and like, but it's so disoriented, and like it's really hard to tell what the relationships are with characters, and it's just not enough time to, like I said, it's just not enough time to care. 4 episodes. This should have been at least 10 episodes. You know what I mean? Or like I said, or they could have just made it a movie.
Right.
Just did a 2-hour movie. Like, okay, and changed it. And like I said, I mean, 4 hours, and as soon as we get in, first episode we see she finds this underground railroad into the DMZ, and pretty much told if she crosses a line that the military is going to shoot her down because she's they're not supposed to be in there. Once you're in, you can't get out.
Right.
And then we just they kind of quickly jump into like past relationships that she has with people that were stuck in the DMZ that she left behind 8 years ago, and we're supposed to just figure that out just through these mini conversations. But like I said, even like with her son, I'm like, man, is this even her son? Like, this doesn't really seem like they even have that type of relationship.
Right.
He seemed like he was tied up with his dad. I mean, obviously, because he was with him for 8 years, stuck in the DMZ. But I really wish, like I said, with the actors that they had for this, they really would have gave this time. Now, keep in mind, this show was started filming in 2020. They started filming like end of 2019, 2020. They finished it and they came back and started reshooting like some extra stuff. So this been sitting around for a year. This show's been sitting around for a year, and I'm like, man, y'all could have just did something else with it. And I guess they just didn't want to waste it. So they're like, okay, let's just throw it on HBOMax, because that seems to be like the thing that a lot of streaming services are doing now. Like, yeah, just throw it out there, whatever. It's not done, or it's not completely finished, but we're not taking this nowhere. Just throw it on there, and then that's cool. But I'm like, come on, you can't just be throwing out stuff like this. Like it's starting to get to the point where it's quantity over quality with certain shows like this.
Right. And then just like even, I feel like it would probably have been better for maybe like a
Amazon Prime.
Yeah, like on Amazon Prime or like a Hulu or something.
I can see why it wasn't on there, because it's a DC property and HBO is owned by Warner Brothers, so they were probably going to keep that stuff in house.
Right.
This is such like a popular comic at the time, and I it sucks that it has to get wasted like this, because this is a one and done. There's no continuation. They wrap it up so quickly. Like, oh, okay, she decides to stay in the DMZ and running for mayor, governor, whatever they were trying to do.
And she became governor. Well, yeah, you're right, governor. She became governor of DMZ, and I'm going to say too, like, but Rosario Dawson's acting as well as Benjamin's acting was like insane. They can act.
Yeah.
The acting was there. It was just like the story, and it was just like it felt rushed. It just felt incomplete. Like the writing was incomplete, and then it's just like, as a mom, you're looking for your child. Like, why did he hate her so much? Like, what did she do as a parent that, really just kind of like made him hate her so much? Because it was just like so much hatred towards her.
They have the
thing they explained it was just
like, oh, you locked up my dad. I was mad. You got him jammed up because I told you something that I can't trust you. And
that was silly to me. I was just like, really? Like, come on. You
That
know,
was that was real comic booky to me. Yeah, like that was real villain story. I'm like, what are you
it was
talking
like so ridiculous, and it was so far fetched. I think that was what happened in like the third or the fourth episode
Right.
of it. It was just like it just kind of like went left because I was like, if this is the storyline and like this is what you're selling me on, I'm not sold because yeah, she told on your dad and he got locked up, but what mom wouldn't? You know what I mean? Like what mom wouldn't want to protect her child? And he's like,
Right.
you made me soft and you made me this, and I'm just like, she was trying to protect you with
Right.
any.
And even and like I said, would have been rushed. Like even her somehow she was able to like have enough time to get like him and his girlfriend out of the DMZ, but then she wound up staying. And I get why, because like, you know, a lot of people kept pushing her through the series. Is like, okay, you can really be a change here. You can really make a difference. You know, your voice is, you know, you could do this, whatever. And you know, through the DMZ, there's like a lot of orphan children that we see kind of just running around that, you know, don't have anybody. The kid Obi, who, you know, that short bit of story that we got where we, you know, we figure out that his grandfather was dead the whole time,
So
and
yeah,
he was dealing with like letting that go and moving on, and in his mind he's telling himself to grow up and be a man and do this, and you need, you know, that was crazy. But again, that would have had more impact had it had more time.
yeah, and I actually like that. Once I figured out, you know, when he covered his the remains of his grandfather up, I was like, oh, okay, you know, this person's dead, and it's like, you know, he's visioning his grandfather. I thought that was dope. They could have definitely kind of expanded on that a little bit. And I actually really enjoy his character, the little boy's character. He was great too. It was just a lot of different things happening all at once.
Right.
And then it's all these different, what can I call them? Like, you know, they just had like their different hoods. I guess you can call them like
factions, gangs,
like
yeah.
factions. Factions is the perfect word. They had like these different factions and groups and backgrounds, and you get
I feel like if they would have gave like more of that stuff behind the scenes, like of what their motivations were and why they were doing what they're doing,
and very like divergent, like it would have been perfect.
Right. Like I said, I mean, just a few more episodes and just a little bit more character work for me. I feel like this would have been cool, but you know, because it suffers through the 4 episodes, and I was surprised. I'm like, to check again. I'm like, this can't be right. Just 4? Like, no, that's it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, no, when you get like a miniseries, you at least get like 8 to 10 episodes, but no, 4, and it was very
What did you think about just kind of like the duality of like her son, like dealing with this character that he needed to be for his dad, and like this crazy warrior or whatever, versus like the artist, his artist side, which was his, you know, his before side when he was with his mom that he was kind of trying to hide.
I mean, when you are, I guess, like when you're in a space like that, like where your father is like a huge, I can't call him a drug lord because there was no drugs, but
he was fighting
like a gangster, you know, he a gangster. And I guess like if you know, his dad is like, that's not going to be, you know, you're not going to be an artist. You're going to carry on what I'm building right now.
Right.
And then of course they talk about it a lot in the episodes where it's like he you know, ignites fear, and that's like his way of controlling people through fear. So I mean, if you're an artist and you need to be a gangster, and your daddy he's gonna push you to be a gangster and not an artist. So you're gonna do your art when you have free time, but when your father tells you got to do something, you're gonna do what he tells you to do. Right. But I'm also kind of glad that his character kind of became like his own like man and his own person. And I think that all happened, you know, after Wilson was killed, or you know, after he died, and the girlfriend is a part of that crew. So it's just kind of like, I think that opened his eyes. And then, you know, you saw him battling with himself, you know, in that episode where he was just kind of like, you know, thinking about all the things that he had done in his past. And he's just like, I'm not worthy, you know, of a second chance. But, you know, his mom made sure that he had that opportunity. Or scale. Is it scale or scale?
SKEL.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, so what did you think about Skull dealing with like kind of being torn between two worlds, like Duality, that whole situation, and him just kind of being, you know, one person for his father, and then, you know, just kind of showing a different side. when as far as his art and everything, and they've been hitting away.
Yeah, I mean, with everybody was basically saying the same thing as far as Parko's role was just like him being the person who uses fear to kind of like control everybody. So I'm assuming like even with his own child, it would still be about fear because like even with his girlfriend, you can tell that it's something about her that's fearful of him. He just has like a lot of like pull and a lot of connections with people. So even like with his own child, I'm just assuming that his art is just going to be on the back burner, and he's just going to have to use his art in a way where it doesn't affect like his father's mission for him, because clearly his dad is like building him and like molding him to take over for him. So
Right.
that art don't matter to his father, it's
Clearly.
yeah. So he's just got to find a way to balance it all out, and it just so happens that he meets this woman who kind of like is an artist, and they kind of have that connection that was very quickly done. Like it was like they were in a relationship in 2 seconds. So, but that's where their connection comes from. It's like, they have their art. So, his mom coming, to the DMZ kind of just helps him figure out what he actually wants for himself and like who he wants to be as a person.
Yes, that's one thing I kind of wish. Again, with it being limited, I kind of wish we had seen more of the. I swear I didn't catch her name. The girlfriend.
Yeah.
And she had this whole Warriors DJ thing going on. And we caught glimpses of it like in the first 2 episodes, but we never knew who that was. And she's revealed to be like this radio personality throughout the DMZ. I really wish we had gotten more of that and just kind of why she started doing that and when she stared doing it.
Right.
But again, it suffers through, the time and, the direction that because they really wanted to focus on Alma for the most part and what she was doing out here delivering the white man's water. And it's free water for everybody. But again, I mean, it's really not too much to say about the show. Like I said, it just could have been better. It had the potential to be better, and I feel like a lot of the people that read the comic like don't go into this looking to get that type of material, because that's not what you're gonna get here. I can tell you right now, you're gonna be like, what? Okay, what? Even coming in this from like a non-comic book perspective or not knowing the material, it just feels so short.
Mm-hmm.
It feels it's just not enough meat on the bones for this to be a full. Because I've seen limited series done before, and I've seen them done well. This is not it, unfortunately. With Rosario and Benjamin, good actors, and everybody else that's in there, but this just was not enough meat on the show for me to care or ever want to watch this again personally. Like,
yeah, it just leaves too much like mystery and like just background key information that was needed. And I just quickly did a Google of like who the girlfriend was, right. And she doesn't even pop up. So I'm not going to go too deep into that. But
I've seen her and stuff before, and I try to look her name up and everything too. I cannot find her name.
Yeah, she's definitely been in quite a few things.
Right.
But my quick search, she didn't pop up. So.
Yeah. Not to mention this too. This show is also produced by Ava DuVernay, and I don't know what she's been on lately, but the last couple projects she's done has just been bombs. Like it just not have been like she'll do like the first 2 episodes and she'll be like the executive producer, but it just does not
giving
pan out. Yeah, because what's the show? Naomi. Oh man, we reviewed the first 2. It was just like this ain't it.
I had the pleasure of watching like the first maybe like 4 episodes. I did a little review on it. I mean, I still watch it, but I didn't feel like it was just
it's not appointment television.
Suck me in. It didn't pull me in. So this one just definitely just leaves too much to be said. It's like so many missing pieces with like the characters and like how do we get here, even just like with how they even got to where they are right now. It's very short. It's like
no time skip. They don't even explain anything
of what happened, of like how did the DMZs survive outside of, I guess, like the new United States or whatever. It's just so many questions. The writing, like whoever wrote it, just didn't if you're going to do 4 episodes, give us 4 episodes with a lot of detail.
Right.
So, as much as possible. It's just like a lot of things that are missing, a lot of like background information. It was almost like I Am Legend, where you just get a flash of like the apocalypse is coming and these zombies, and then it's like, how do we get here? And then now there's nobody here. It's the apocalypse. It's similar to that in that way, where it's just the only difference is that there's people that survived and they're in the middle of Manhattan. So it's just like a lot of things that's like missing, and
felt very small to me too. As big as Manhattan is, you know what I mean? It felt very small. Like, okay, we just limited to these 2 blocks. That's it. Like,
yeah.
Is all we fighting for is 2 streets? Like, okay, it wasn't very. Like I said, it wasn't very explained. Yeah.
Right, and it felt like maybe some streets could have been like the Queens or something. It just, I don't know. It wasn't giving heart of Manhattan. It kind of was just giving like boroughs of New York City, and not necessarily like Manhattan as a whole. But I don't know. It's just a lot of missing things to this, and it could have been great. I think if they had taken some time to give us some background and then move this into the right now, but you just literally pushed us into this lady going into this city and like wreaking havoc on everything and getting her ass whipped every 5 minutes. It's just a lot of things.
And she was definitely getting jumped.
Yeah.
Asians, Latinos.
I think she had like one good moment where she didn't, where she actually was fighting someone, and and the only reason why the lady wasn't fighting her back was because she was pregnant. So it's just
she caught on to that quick, like, oh, hold up.
Yeah, so it's just like, you've been getting beat up and shot at this whole movie. You don't have no fighting skill. You have no combative skill. The only thing that you can do is literally like save people's lives. And I mean, it was a lot of action, the violence, the fighting scenes. That stuff was dope.
That whole war scene was pretty cool. Like in episode 3, before Wilson gets tossed out of a window, like Aaliyah's brother in Romeo Must Die.
Right.
That was cool. But like I said, it still wasn't enough. Even by the time I got to that, I was just like, not that I was checked out of it, but
I get gold from, and then like all this money, like if money and gold aren't like things to be possessed, or like they can't provide you with the fruit of your labor, it's like it's no benefit to you having these things. But like, and I guess that's maybe how they were paying off like the military, from the US, and getting like guns and
resources. But yeah, we figure out that everybody is racing against time to figure out how to secure the currency is now getting resources, water, food, and whatever, guns, stuff like that. But I mean, that's the only thing that they actually explain in the show. But other than that, like I said, we can give our final thoughts on this. What did you think overall? Like,
I mean, overall, I'm going to say watch it. I always tell people, just see for yourself, because you might like it, but just beware that you're not going to get a full series of information. So there's going to be a lot of lacking. The acting's great. And that's pretty much the reason why I'm saying watch it at your own risk, but because the acting is really good. It's just the story is just really thrown together.
I feel the same way. Definitely, time is a precious resource, people. So if you are watching this, like she said, watch it at your own risk. Letting you know right now, this is not the best thing you could be watching on HBOMax. Like, it's 4 hours, but my girl Rosario Dawson's in it, so you gotta let it slide. So like I said, the acting's great. But like you said, if you watch this, you're probably gonna come off feeling like us, maybe different. It just needed a little bit more for me to really get attached to what this was. Right. But other than that, that was the review for DMZ. Like you said, you can leave a comment how you felt about it below. If you watched it, when it comes out March 17th. And then, I think they're giving you all 4 episodes. So, but like I said, let us know what you thought about it, and then we're probably right. So, but other than that, on that note, we're out of here. Hope see. I forgot what I was about to say. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. So, see you.
Bye.